In July 2018, off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, researchers couldn't believe what they were watching. An orca named Tahlequah had just given birth, but the calf only lived for half an hour. Normally, the story would end there. It didn't. Tahlequah began pushing her dead calf through the water with her nose, and she didn't stop. Not for a day, not for a week. For 17 straight days, across more than 1,000 miles of ocean, every time the calf began to sink, Tahlequah would dive down and bring it back to the surface. The whole world watched, and everyone asked the same question. Was this actually grief? That question isn't an easy one for scientists either. For decades, biologists hesitated to use the word grief for animals because it felt like jumping to a very human conclusion too quickly. But today, the evidence has become difficult to dismiss, and some of the strongest evidence comes from elephants. In October 2003, in Kenya's Samburu Reserve, researchers from Save the Elephants were tracking a matriarch named Eleanor. Eleanor collapsed on October 10th. She died the next day, but the interesting part isn't her death, it's what happened after. Researchers documented elephant after elephant from different family groups coming to stand beside Eleanor's body. Some weren't related to her, some had likely never even known her, and yet they came anyway, gently touching her with their trunks, sniffing, standing quietly beside her, as if they were trying to understand something. This wasn't an isolated case. Elephant biologist Sanjita Pokharel from Kyoto University analyzed 58 videos uploaded to YouTube. She found that elephants repeatedly circle the body of a deceased member, a behavior strikingly similar to funeral rituals practiced in Hindu culture. They touch the remains. They cover them with dirt and branches. Sometimes they stand guard for days, protecting the body from predators, even from scavengers many times their size. Elephant researcher Martin Meredith has written that elephants vocalize while grieving too, sometimes soft rumbling, sometimes sounds close to screaming. Some have even been observed shedding tears. And this isn't short-lived. Animal behavior expert Mark Beekoff, alongside elephant conservationist Ian Douglas Hamilton, once observed a herd whose matriarch had just died. Heads lowered, ears drooping, tails hanging still, the herd simply wandering in place. In his words, they looked broken-hearted. But maybe the most striking piece of evidence is this one. When Lawrence Anthony, known as the Elephant Whisperer, suddenly passed away, 2 wild elephant herds he had once rescued walked 12 hours to stand outside his home. These were herds that hadn't set foot on his land in years. No one called them, no one alerted them. They just came. Elephants aren't the only giants capable of this. In 2010, researchers in Zambia documented a female giraffe standing beside her dead calf for 4 full days. Predators tried to drive her away more than once. She kept coming back. In captivity, zookeepers have reported entire giraffe herds gathering around a dying member, gently nuzzling them, staying close for hours even after death. Mothers who lose a calf often stop eating properly, pace restlessly, and withdraw from the rest of the herd. This behavior looks almost identical to depression in humans. Now let's talk about chimpanzees, because here the story gets even harder to watch. Famed researcher Jane Goodall spent years following a young chimpanzee named Flint. When Flint's mother, Flo, died, Flint changed. He stopped eating properly. He withdrew from the rest of the group. He started sitting alone. Exactly 4 weeks later, Flint died too. No illness was found. He simply, it seemed, stopped wanting to continue. This wasn't a one-off case either. Female chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, the maternal bond runs so deep that some of them carry their dead infants for days, sometimes weeks. They refuse to let go even once decomposition has clearly set in. This isn't simply not realizing the infant has died, because they don't treat other bodies this way, only their own. Birds tell a completely different version of this story, and it might be the strangest one yet. When a crow finds the body of another crow, it doesn't quietly mourn. It sends out a loud alarm call, and within minutes, other crows arrive from everywhere. Researchers call this a cacophonous aggregation, a chaotic, screaming gathering, with birds diving at the corpse but rarely touching it. Crow researcher Kaylee Swift has spent years studying this behavior at the University of Washington, And one detail stands out. Crows do this even for crows they've never met. It doesn't matter if there's any family bond at all. Magpies take it even further. When a magpie finds a dead companion, it calls out to summon others. What follows looks unsettlingly close to an actual funeral, birds taking turns approaching the body, sometimes placing grass or small objects beside it. The entire group falls unusually silent, a stark contrast to how loud and chaotic magpies normally are. Dolphins belong on this list too, though their story plays out a little differently. Researchers once documented an adult dolphin that wouldn't leave the body of what was likely its own calf, even after a rope was tied to the carcass to pull it ashore for burial. The dolphin kept touching the body the entire time and stayed even after it had been pulled out of the water completely. This isn't limited to one species. Similar behavior has been recorded in rhesus dolphins, spinner dolphins, and even some species of whale. Now here's something that makes this story more complicated, because not every animal reacts the same way, and that difference might be the most interesting part of all. Some dolphins seem to keep playing with a dead companion, pushing the body, swimming around it, acting almost as if it were still alive. Some lion prides, on the other hand, will eat a member of their own pride after death. That sounds cold, almost brutal. But it's still a reaction, just not one that fits our definition of grief. That's exactly why some scientists remain cautious. Grief is a human word, and when we apply it to animals, we might just be projecting our own feelings onto them. Researchers studying crows lean toward a different explanation entirely, that these gatherings exist to teach the flock about danger, not to mourn a loss. But here's what makes that explanation incomplete on its own. Elephants don't just learn and move on. They return to the same bones months, sometimes years later. Chimpanzees stop eating. A giraffe gets driven off by a predator and comes back anyway, 4 days in a row. That's not information gathering, that's something else. What researchers have also noticed is that this behavior isn't random. It shows up almost exclusively in species with strong social bonds: elephants, primates, dolphins, certain corvids. In solitary animals, it's almost never seen at all. That can't be a coincidence. It suggests that the deeper the bond, the heavier the loss feels, whether you're human or not. Maybe the real question was never, do animals grieve? Maybe the real question is this: attachment, love, the feeling of loss, these were never only ours to begin with. We just started paying attention. When Tahlequah carried her calf for 17 days, or when 2 wild elephant herds walked 12 hours to stand outside a man's home, they were showing us something. We just weren't ready to see it yet.